welcome to the Dalles Overground Artist Spotlight. We want to thank Alleyway Cafe for hosting us here today. I want to introduce folks to Mac Cornish. Mac, you are a Americana, country, cosmic folk singer from Nashville. Welcome to the Dalles.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And you are currently on tour. You're here in the Dalles on tour. Tell us how the tour is going.
It's been going well. We played in Enterprise last night and Pendleton at Jackalope the night before, which was very sweet. I felt like I got to reunite with all my friends. I lived in Oregon for 5 years before I moved to Nashville, so it's really good to be back. But yeah, tour's been great. I did get bronchitis, but we're doing better. We're doing better. And this is what I love to do. So it's like, now that I'm not feeling sick, I'm like, okay, all right, I'm living the dream again. So.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better.
Thanks.
At Jackalope, I heard you play a new song, which is something you just wrote in Nashville. How's the songwriting going? Or is there maybe a new album in the works? You just kind of building up some songs right now? How's it going?
Yeah, so weirdly enough, I really haven't written that much since I moved to Nashville. I finished a song with a friend there, which was the first time I've ever done a co-write, which is a very big thing in Nashville. Everyone does co-writes. I'm very private with my songwriting, so it's hard for me to want to do that. But honestly, I have an entire album's worth of music written that I honestly basically wrote all when living in Oregon. And that I will be going into the studio to record, I think, this fall. But it should be a full length. And it's ready to go. I just need to book the time and just figure out a producer and do all that stuff. But yeah, new album hopefully next year.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, and you've said before you're kind of a control freak with your songwriting. So I was interested when you said you had co-wrote that. So that's probably a new
it was interesting. So the song was basically finished. The melody was written in the chords and all the lyrics, but there was kind of a weak verse, and my friend rewrote it. So it was kind of a co-write. He definitely helped me. He'll be getting credit on it, but it wasn't starting from scratch co-write.
Interesting. Okay.
Maybe one day I'll get there, but right now I'm
you're easing into it.
Yeah.
And what's your friend's name? Who?
Sam Talmadge,
cool.
who also plays guitar with me sometimes. Not on this tour, but he's wonderful. He tours with a lot of people, so it's hard to get him on the road. But in town, he'll typically play with me.
Very cool. Awesome. So you were in Portland, originally from Northern California, Bay Area, and then you made a big jump to Nashville. I know a lot of artists like to write about Nashville. I'm thinking about Charlie Crockett, for instance. He has, it includes a lot of information in his songs where he clearly had some struggles coming up through the industry and with the music industry as a rising artist there. How have you found Nashville? You've been there now for over a year?
I've actually only been there for 6 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I really like Nashville so far. And I understand why a lot of people have qualms with it. I mean, it is the industry capital of the US, and not just for country music. Really kind of a lot of industry is moving out there. A lot of pop industry is moving out there because country is this zeitgeist right now. So the whole kind of musical universe is focusing in on Nashville for a myriad of reasons. And that can be hard because on the surface level, you're just seeing, the big labels, and you're seeing this kind of very country pop produced stuff. But in East Nashville, which is right around where I live and where all the venues I play are in East Nashville, there's kind of this other scene happening. Sierra Ferrells are coming out of there, Emily Nenny and names like that are more aligned with what I'm trying to do.
Cool.
And seeing them take that route through Nashville makes me feel inspired because it makes me feel like I can do it too. I get why people are I don't want to be around all that industry and all this, but there's a bunch of wonderful musicians living in Nashville and playing music for a living, just like in any other city. And they're extremely welcoming. I've only lived there for 6 months, and I feel like I already made some closest friends of my life, and just felt really welcomed in, and have a band going already. So I think Nashville's been really good for me because it's super intimidating. Sure, you're around the best of the best in the genre that you're in. But I knew when I left Portland, I was I want to go somewhere that's going to challenge me and push me, because I felt very comfortable in Portland. I felt like I could hit a ceiling there. I'm not saying I did. I don't think I did, but I could foresee in the next few years hitting a ceiling. And I was I really want to move somewhere where there's no ceiling, where I can get better and improve and shoot for the stars instead of kind of I don't know, just kind of just seeing what happens and keeping on kind of just doing the same stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not what I wanted. I wanted to do something different every year and to really have like goals laid out for myself where I could make this a career and have this, have a national following as opposed to a regional following. And Nashville seemed like the right place for that. And I'm very far, from having a national following or having this be a lucrative career for me. But I feel like in Nashville, I have like the tools and the inspiration and kind of the push to like actualize that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I miss the West all the time.
Yeah.
But I really love Nashville.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, it sounds like it's going well. So at Jackalope, you played at the Queen's Barn, which is a really unique venue, right? It's a rodeo barn that, they put up a stage, they put down some sod. I know you've said before that you're a horse girl, so
sure am.
I bet you liked it. I'm sure you're a fan of the venue. But I'm curious, just like, you've toured a lot. What are some quirkier, like more interesting venues that you've played at? Are there any kind of think of?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the barn definitely is like up there for sure. I kind of got my start in the like kind of DIY like indie rock punk scene in San Francisco.
Okay.
So I'd say like maybe the weirdest place I played was in this daycare center after hours. I like opened for a punk band, which was really weird.
Awesome.
But it worked because I feel like back then it was just like any space where we can have an all ages show, we would just make do with. So I used to do some booking before I was even really playing out. And I worked for like a punk zine in high school. Right. And I didn't play, but I like put on a show in like a comic book shop on Haight Street in San Francisco.
Nice.
And it was crazy. They didn't want to have shows again after that because there were so many people packed in there that the condensation like ruined some of the comics. Sorry.
Comic book people are going to get upset about that.
Yeah. So like the DIY world is something I'm very familiar with. So like I've played a lot of like weird like house shows and warehouses and daycare centers. So
basements.
Lots of basements. But definitely like as a country artist, I feel like it's just now it's mostly like, maybe a barn occasionally, but mostly just like dive bars and honky tonks and
dive wine shops.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, so our organization, the Dalles Overground, which is a nonprofit we started, the idea is to bring a lot more, just unique music and arts and culture to this community, but also to really support youth in the community around art and music. So we've been doing a bunch of different things, bringing in some different cultural stuff into the schools. We've got an art project we're working on, but we also we want to create a space here in the Dalles. There's a couple different younger musicians that we know who are, 14, 15 years old who are just starting to play. We want to create an environment where those folks can really learn and grow and be supported. And so I'm curious, I know you picked up a guitar when you were about 14. I'm really curious to hear, did you have a kind of a music mentor or someone or an organization or a group of people that helped you through that process when you started?
Yeah. So I grew up in a small town in the Bay Area, and I didn't really have, I think there was like 60 people in my graduating class in high school. So there wasn't like a whole lot going on where I grew up, and like everything cool that was happening was like an hour drive away in San Francisco. So I was kind of like, I feel like I maybe came to it a little bit later than some people just because of like the opportunities that I had. But like I got really into music, in my like preteen years. And I started taking guitar lessons with someone in my town. Ronnie Crawford is his name. Shout out to Ronnie Crawford, amazing human being, teaches drums, guitar, kind of anything. And lessons with him connected me with the other people in my town taking lessons, who then ended up, a lot of them went to school with me. And then that's how I joined my first band. And that was kind of like the catalyst for me starting to play music, was honestly like connecting with people through Ronnie and through those lessons. And then just like literally trying to find like anybody else in my small little high school who liked the same things as me. I'm like, does anyone else want to do Led Zeppelin covers?
Awesome.
And luckily people did. And I was in a cover band in high school.
Awesome.
And yeah, that was like so important. I mean, music was everything for me in high school. I mean, and has been since I picked up the guitar, and without it, I don't know where I would have been. But I think it's so rad what you guys are doing, because I think I would have appreciated, more like community support for the arts. And I don't know, like I definitely felt very isolated growing up, not being like a sports, like super like smart school kid because I felt I grew up in like a really like competitive environment of a lot of people, you know, who had parents who went to Ivy Leagues and stuff like that. Like my parents weren't like that. And I'm really dyslexic. So like school, I never do well in school. And I never was good at sports. So like music was my thing. And that almost seemed like shameful when you're in this environment of a bunch of kids who are like go-getters and, you know, on the lacrosse team or the volleyball team, and they also have straight A's. And I just was like, oh God, I'm horrible because I have an A- and a B and I'm really bad at sports. So it like having that structure where you're like, you know, music is encouraged and like art is encouraged, and that's like seen as like a valid, fulfilling thing, as opposed to just like, you know, the typical line of like, oh, you know, you get good grades and you go to a good college and whatever. I feel like that's really important. Got a little bit tangential there, but
no, it's good. I mean, no, to your point, I feel like you kind of had to create your own scene there versus like what we're trying to do, and you know, other nonprofits try to do is like do that work for the kids so they can just plug in and go, start to realize their dreams. So you're an incredible songwriter. Your album is the most recent album, or I guess your debut album, is just like the lyrics are just so vivid. You know, there's heartbreak and loss and finding yourself and sobriety and all these things. It's so incredible songwriter. My question is, you picked up the guitar at 14. Did you start writing songs at the same time, or did that come a little bit later? Like what was first? Because I know you've said you're like a songwriter first. That's kind of your main thing. So how did that come to be?
It's so funny. I feel like I was kind of a late bloomer in music in so many ways, and I actually really only identified as a guitarist for the first few years. I played rhythm guitar in a band. I didn't sing at all. I didn't really start singing until I was like 16 or 17. My brother told me I was tone deaf when I was a kid, and I believed him because my siblings were like musical theater kids. So I believed them.
Don't ever believe your siblings.
Yeah, don't.
Terrible idea.
Life advice: don't believe them. They're being mean because that's what siblings do. Exactly. So yeah, I started singing, you know, like covers and stuff. I think for my dad's 60th birthday. God, was it his 60th birthday? Or maybe it was 50. No, it was his 55th birthday. Oh my God, that's so crazy. It's almost 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago because I'm 26. I sang Angel from Montgomery for him, and some other song I can't remember, but that was my first time ever singing, and people had no idea that I could sing. They just thought I played guitar. And that was kind of when I started to be more of a singer-songwriter, but the songwriting almost didn't really start until I was like 18.
Oh wow, okay.
I'm like a horrible perfectionist, like cripplingly so. And so I think allowing myself even like the space to be able to songwrite, it took me a while. And I think when I was 18, I was able to kind of get that ball rolling. And I don't feel like I really started seriously songwriting until I was in my 20s.
Wow, okay.
So it's been less than 10 years.
Yeah, wow, very cool. So I don't think I've ever heard a more haunting, like you sing about a 1989 Ford Ranger, which in like such a hauntingly beautiful way.
Thank
so
you.
I think you're like a fellow truck person, maybe.
I am.
Like I know you put your silver rig up on Instagram when you left. Like I'm also a truck guy. I learned how to drive stick. My single mom taught me how to drive stick shift on a 49 International pickup truck.
Oh, awesome.
It's like so cool.
Yeah.
I just recently bought a pickup truck. So my question for you is, money's no object. What's like a dream pickup that you could have?
Oh my God. I've thought about this a lot, and I've gone like back and forth. So when I was in high school, like my dream like truck was like a Toyota 4Runner.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's SUV on a truck body, but I think it's still a truck, like a 90s one. I was just obsessed with those. But as I've gotten older, I'm obsessed with the 60s and 70s. Like that's just everything I think about is from that era. And I would love a Ford F-100.
Nice.
Green, preferably.
Okay. Even got the color picked out.
Yeah, would be the dream. I mean, I've always am like thinking about like when would it be appropriate for me to throw that much money at something.
Exactly.
The answer is not anytime soon. Because my music takes all my money that I don't spend on rent. But yeah, I dream about it quite often. Short bed. I don't want a long bed. It's too hard to park in the city.
Yeah, exactly.
I am a city girl right now at the end of the day, but yeah, love a truck.
Nice.
And I felt like it was kind of funny. I ended up writing about one because I'm like, I don't even think I'm that country, but it left its mark on me. So
and on your fans.
Yeah.
So we were just chatting about this earlier. So you're on tour, you're on the road a lot, and this is a silly question, but it's kind of serious. Like, what are your go-to snacks when you're on tour?
Ooh.
Like, what do you like to what do you like to like get energized by before you come out to a show?
Man, that's a good question. I feel like I'm like still figuring out like how to eat well on tour.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the hardest thing about tour, other than like the financial ramifications
Right.
of it. But I feel like I try to like I bring like a cooler in the car, and I try to have like fruit.
All right.
And I always have like almond butter and honey and bread, which I'll typically have for like breakfast, but I'll sometimes have it for a snack too.
Nice.
Honestly, just like a protein bar.
There you go.
Classic, just from the gas station.
Yep.
Nothing too crazy, honestly. I wish I had like a funner, like this is my go-to, but honestly, just whatever feels right in the moment. I try not to like eat too much candy or like junk food on the road, but there is a time and place for that, and it's like, you know, you gotta treat yourself a little bit. But I also like don't want to have a tummy ache and have to play a show. I'm a little bit of a princess, so it's hard for me to function if my stomach hurts.
I'm actually a tummy ache survivor myself.
Oh yeah.
Well, awesome. Shout out to Farm Stand. She's gonna go to Farm Stand after this and get some good snacks.
Absolutely.
Some good healthy snacks. All right. So I think it's safe to say you're from the Bay Area or Bay Area adjacent.
Yes.
So I'm a huge hip hop person. So I'm like country and hip hop. So Bay Area has some legendary hip hop artists.
Absolutely.
Who's one of your favorites, or who are some of your favorites?
Okay, so I'll start with what my favorites are. Souls of Mischief.
Okay.
93 Till Infinity. That's like my favorite Bay Area like hip hop record. Also RBL Posse.
Okay.
They're more of like a San Francisco rap group. And I'm technically like West Bay. Souls of Mischief is more of like an East Bay thing.
Okay.
So I guess like, you know, RBL should be my favorite.
Nice.
But yeah, honestly though, I grew up like listening to way more East Coast hip hop. Like I was a huge Tribe Called Quest
edit that out. We'll edit that out because we're on the West Coast and there's a beef. So
sorry. But yeah, no, I love all that stuff.
Well, I'd love to shout out to like some lesser known artists too. Like I was like Ready for Too Short or E40.
See,
or like...
I'm more of like a 90s, 80s hip hop girl than I am of like a later 90s, 2000s. And like love, all the respect to those guys who were doing it in the later 90s, 2000s. But what always connected with me more was more of like the kind of like the sample based kind of, I don't know, like just more of like the 80s and 90s, like a little bit like jazzier hip hop, if that makes sense. And I feel like Souls of Mischief is a lot more kind of aligned with that. So I always really liked them. And RBL Posse I love too, because they have this one song called Don't Give Me No Bammer Weed. We don't smoke that stuff in the SFC.
Nice.
So as a teenager, that was, you know,
yep,
really liked that one. So
excellent.
Yeah.
So you probably don't have a ton of time for this right now, but like, what is, I like to ask folks all the time, like what is a book or a podcast that you've experienced recently that you really enjoyed that you want to share with people?
Ooh, okay. I read a lot, so I do a lot of audiobooks.
Cool.
Trying to think. I've been reading. I just finished Willie Nelson's book. That was really, really good. Definitely worth listening to. So she's a songwriter, and for all the songwriters out there, it's very inspiring just because you really don't realize that Willie wrote so many of the country songs that we know that he didn't. He did sing at some point, but like he wrote Crazy. Everyone, you know, probably assumes that was written by Patsy Cline.
Right.
This is probably very obvious to like the in-depth country fans, but to the more surface level fans, most people don't know that he wrote Nightlife, which I think most people think is like a Ray Price tune. You know, he wrote some like incredible songs in his career that he sang, other people sang. So that was a really good read.
Nice.
I just finished this book recently called Hotel California, not just about the Eagles, but just about Laurel Canyon in general.
Perfect.
And that kind of is my specialty, is all the Laurel Canyon stuff.
And all this stuff. So that's your,
yeah, all the Californian stuff I just love. So that was a really good one.
Nice. Okay.
Podcast wise, trying to think. Someone sent me this one about Charles Manson that I'm forgetting the name. I have to get like real dark here. Yeah. I think it's we must remember, or something. It's called something like that, but it was really good. And I love, like I said, I love like all California history, especially like 60s counterculture stuff. I'm like really big on. Also read the Hells Angels book by Hunter S. Thompson. That's great. Yeah, just so much. I just read a Joan Didion book, Slouching Towards Bethlehem.
Nice. Okay.
That was great. So
That's
many
a
books.
good list. Thank you. That's more than I expected. So that's perfect. And of course, Willie Nelson has like this Pacific Northwest connection, being the DJ like at a Vancouver radio station.
Totally, which is so wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know you just got to the Dalles. You just rolled into town, but I know also you're from Portland, so you've probably been through here a few times. So, you know, the Dalles Overground, like, we really believe in this community. We really want to lift it up. We think it's a great place to live. I'm curious if you could name something really positive or good about this community that you've noticed in your time, just like rolling through or spending time here.
Totally. I mean, I think like the hospitality and like the kindness of the people is, you know, the thing I've noticed, because booking this show, like I was trying to fill some dates in between and like reaching out to Matt, like he really just was so kind and so accommodating, and like asking for guarantees from venues is like a really awkward thing to do, especially if you like know the person. And he was just so kind and like wanted to get my band paid in a way that like allows me to, you know, pay for this tour and like to, you know, pay the boys well and pay myself. And like that is huge. Like having that kind of respect from a venue owner or just a person in general is really big. He helped us find like a place to sleep tonight and stuff like that. So I just feel like in general, like everyone's been so kind. I mean, doing this interview and like the, you know, the attention you've, you know, taken to like my music and everything to like ask these questions, like it just means the world to be, especially as a really small artist like me who, you know, does not have a label. I, you know, I do everything myself. Like it just means so much when people like respect me and want to like, I don't know, like help out and, I don't know, take the time.
We want you to succeed. Like we're on your team, right?
Yeah, and I think that is a sign of like a really healthy community when that sort of kind of attention is given to artists coming through and just people coming through in general. Because it shows that you guys clearly are taking care of your community and want to support people coming through, so they want to come back. And also just because it's good to be nice to people.
I mean, that's why we're like the cousin of Jackalope Jamboree. We're trying to kind of use that same model and just like really support artists. So
totally.
Last question, more of a serious one. So, you know, it's kind of a chaotic world out there right now. Lots of people are struggling. There's been some dark times. I'm curious what brings you hope these days. What is it that brings you hope and happiness in days like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's been like, I mean, being 26, and when I think about like my life, like COVID hit when I was 20. So it's been like my entire 20s has been insane. I always see these like memes about like, do I have to live through like another like historical event? What I always kind of lean on big time, this kind of connects to the last question, is like local community and like what can you do locally, and you know, voting locally, you know, supporting local nonprofits and venues and artists and whatever, because I feel like the only thing like sadly that we truly have the power to change is like the communities around us, the small ones. And I feel like leaning big time on my friends and my music community, and just, you know, like honestly, you know, my friends all over the country, like being able to go on tour and see them. And yeah, I mean, it's just, that's kind of what gives me hope and like makes me think that things will be okay. And you know, I've read so many books about the 1960s and about that time, and it's funny because I feel so many parallels to that time sometimes. I remember I read Bob Dylan's girlfriend in the Susie Rotolo. She's in the Bob Dylan movie, if anyone's seen it. I think they changed her name, but she wrote about how the Cuban Missile Crisis was happening, and just all this crazy stuff with the Cold War and, you know, nuclear stuff and all that, and how it truly felt like it could be the end.
Absolutely.
Which I think is a feeling, especially right now, that and like the things that have happened in the last week, where it feels, you know, like there's great unrest in this country and in the world, and it's terrifying. And looking back at that and seeing that people were able to move through that and things were able to improve in some sort of way, it gives me some sort of hope. I mean, I can be like a total jaded nihilist sometimes about this, but like when I'm really like, okay, I want to like wake up in the morning and not have soul crushing anxiety, you know, I think about my community and I think about the people before us who have like worked to make this world better now. And I try to remember that, like, I don't know, we can continue doing that, and like local stuff is what is gonna, I don't know, bring about like national good, I hope. So
yeah, it's up to us just to do it every day in our lives. Absolutely. Well, Mac, thank you so much. I know you're off next to Trout Lake Hall tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mississippi Studios soon?
Yeah, Mississippi and Tractor Tavern in Seattle
Awesome.
too.
So you're making the rounds. And then once you're done with Seattle, where do you go from there?
We're going down and playing in the Bay Area in Albany, which is in the East Bay, and then in Santa Cruz.
Oh, very cool.
And then in LA.
Will Santa Cruz be the closest kind of homecoming show?
Yeah, the closest I could really get to my house, because there's like nothing going on in my hometown. It's like
cool.
an hour from my house, so
Very
it'll be cool. Stay with my parents,
Awesome.
so
That'll be fun. Awesome.
you know, I see the dogs.
Nice. Well, Mac, thank you so much. We appreciate the time. We love having you here, and have a good show tonight.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.